Please welcome Dr. Emily Jamea.
I've thought seriously about cheating on my husband. I sit in the carpool line and fantasize about being with other men. I love my husband. He's a wonderful person. We have children together, and we had passion once upon a time, but our sex life has become so routine. I'm completely checked out. These were the words of one of my clients. Let's call her Julie, as she confessed both her pain and her desire to me in my therapy office. As a seasoned sexologist and relationship therapist, I heard stories like hers from both men and women over and over again. And I was familiar with the many reasons why desire can fade in long-term relationships and could help people get it back to an extent, but I started to wonder, were the couples who had figured out how to sustain real, raw passion just lucky or more in love than the rest of us? How many of you have noticed the fade of the initial spark and the fear and sadness that goes along with it? My clients wanted answers, and if I'm honest, so did I. Around the time I started diving into the research on long-term passion, I was a busy mom of one with a second on the way and was determined to avoid falling victim to the statistic that marriage and kids kill desire. The research available at the time focused mostly on helping couples overcome sexual dysfunction or improve satisfaction, but again, satisfaction wasn't enough for me. I wanted passion. I scoured the literature, and only one study stood out because it was the only study I could find that specifically had examined couples who claimed they had figured out how to sustain passion for decades. I pored over the study's findings and started paying closer attention to the language my own clients were using to describe the sex they wanted. And then something clicked. It was all flow state language. A flow state is a psychological term used to describe the state of mind we enter when we are so fully engaged in an activity that we experience a sense of effortlessness, complete concentration, and merger. I'm sure you all can think of something that puts you into a state of flow. Think about when you're out for a good run and you notice your mind finally clear. Or you're playing an instrument or just listening to music, and you're not just making music or listening to it, it feels like you are the music. Or, since we're talking about couples today, when you're out dancing with your partner and you experience the sensation that the two of you are moving as one unit across the dance floor. I mean, aren't these the exact types of feelings we would love to experience when we make love? So you can imagine my shock when I went back to the research and couldn't find a single study that specifically looked at flow state and sex among couples. So I conducted one. I conducted the first of its kind study looking at the relationship between flow state and sex among couples who were married or in long-term relationships. My findings blew me away. Not only were many of them experiencing a state of flow when they had sex, not one of them said that it had only happened in the honeymoon phase. Instead, flow helped them cultivate a sex life that kept getting better. My conversations with them revealed 5 core themes: sensuality, curiosity, vulnerability, adaptability, and attunement. And today, I'm going to give you a snapshot into each one, illustrate how I use them to help our friend Julie in the hopes that you too can get into a state of flow and cultivate a sex life that keeps getting better. Did you know that the average couple has sex that lasts only 5 to 8 minutes? That is hardly enough time to dip into sensuality. Julie, like many of us, struggled to quiet her mind enough to immerse herself in the sensations of sex. My research participants, though, talked about taking their time when they made love, and I encouraged her to do the same. She was happy to discover that by slowing down, and I mean way down, she gave her mind the time it needed to power down, and in doing so, actually tasted her husband in the kiss, noticed the beat of his heart, and savored the caress of his touch on her skin. And as she reflected on the experience, she realized she hadn't thought about the laundry in the next room or her marketing report that was due the next day, because she had entered into a state of flow. Raise your hand if you or your partner have gotten curious about what new toy or position you want to try. Okay, I know you're probably not going to raise your hand about that kind of thing in front of a live audience, so just give me a little wink if the answer is yes. Okay, but how many of you have gotten curious about what feeling sex could be used to explore or what psychological space it could transport you to? Research shows that erotic couples speak very little about things like toys and technique, focusing instead on things like touch with a new intention or using sex as an opportunity to explore feelings like playfulness, surrender, and power. Julie was shocked how turned on she got when her husband, in the missionary position she was already comfortable with, gently took her hands and pinned them over her head, commanding her to hold eye contact. The mere fact that he took on a more assertive energy, something that was atypical for him in bed, was all she needed to feel like the world around her disappeared, putting her into a state of flow. Do you know what deepens curiosity and makes it even more thrilling? Vulnerability. Vulnerability is about feeling safe enough to be seen and take sexual risks. My research participants didn't hold back when it came to revealing their deeper, more authentic desires. Julie's husband realized that even though he was physically present, he was emotionally guarded, focusing more on his own performance than on genuine emotional connection. Over time, as he felt safer revealing his own desires, something shifted. Vulnerability made it possible for him to be there for acceptance, not evaluation. And only then could he surrender, let go of his ego, which is a key requisite to flow. What if the couples who know how to sustain passion aren't the ones with fewer obstacles, but the ones who know how to adapt to obstacles more effectively? As it relates to adaptability, research shows that passionate couples don't let things like an unreliable erection or even chronic illness kill their sex life. When they need to improvise creative ways of connecting, they do. Julie and her husband, like many of us, struggled to connect after having kids. Because they couldn't have sex with as much spontaneity as they were used to, they let it dwindle. But they were happy to discover that by getting intentional about it, by adapting to limitations they couldn't do anything about, their sex felt more meaningful, not less. Because feeling mutually invested and prioritizing a strong sexual connection makes it much easier to slip into a state of flow. When was the last time that you and your partner had sex that made you feel like the two of you were moving as one unit? Attunement describes our ability to create synchrony and unspoken rhythm with our partner. As Julie and her husband learned to pay closer attention to subtle shifts in breath, tension, and arousal, they could make micro adjustments in real time. A change in pace, a deeper gaze, a softer touch. In flow science, this kind of responsiveness creates a powerful feedback loop where each person's experience shapes the other's moment by moment. This is attunement, and it's the final pathway into flow. Now, if this sounds like a lot, take a deep breath. You don't have to have all 5 at the same time. They are there for you to pick and choose from depending on what's going on in your life. When life feels chaotic and you need to slow down, focus on sensuality. When your sex life feels boring and routine, you can explore curiosity. When you're struggling to connect because you feel emotionally disconnected or sexually inhibited, focus on vulnerability. When you've lost each other due to a life adjustment or some kind of adversity, explore adaptability. And when you're ready to have sex that makes you feel like you are high on the ultimate drug, explore attunement. Today, Julie no longer fantasizes about the pool boy. Instead, she focuses on all the exciting potential that lay ahead for her and her own relationship. And so I want you to think about what you'll try tonight. Will you savor the caress of your partner's touch on your skin? Will you reveal a fantasy that's been hidden all this time? The possibilities are endless and the choice is yours, but know that whatever path you choose to get there, tapping into a state of flow is a powerful way of cultivating a sex life that keeps getting better. Thank you.